Many people claim to believe in God, but do not have a close relationship with Him. This issue stems from a lack of obedient faith, not a lack of belief. Obedient faith is defined as faith that inspires action. It is not enough to simply believe. Faith must translate into tangible actions. Transcending belief requires a shift towards experiencing God directly. This transformation occurs when faith is actively expressed through tangible actions. Dedicated service to others is a key component of this active faith. These actions cultivate a dynamic and personal relationship with the divine. The concept of faith versus works explores the relationship between belief and action. Scripture indicates that authentic faith manifests through tangible actions. These actions include obedience to moral principles and expressions of compassion. Love and service towards others are also key indicators of genuine faith. Therefore, observable deeds validate and demonstrate the vitality of one's faith. Professing faith in God requires demonstrable actions. Inconsistently obeying God during challenges reveals a flawed faith. Professing love for God necessitates caring for one's neighbor. Neglecting one's neighbor contradicts a claim of loving God. The concept of faith is explored in relation to tangible actions. A specific type of faith is likened to a body devoid of life. This faith lacks the essential signs of vitality, namely action and commitment. The absence of these vital signs suggests a deficiency in true belief. Deeds are presented as a necessary component to accompany belief. Therefore, genuine faith is demonstrated through both belief and corresponding actions. Demons possess accurate theological knowledge regarding God's existence. This knowledge is not accompanied by love for God. Demons do not submit to God's divine will. They also demonstrate a lack of obedience to God. Despite their knowledge, demons tremble before God. Their accurate theology is devoid of saving grace or righteous action. Belief in God's existence alone does not guarantee salvation. It also does not automatically lead to a personal experience of God. Saving faith requires more than intellectual assent. Active faith is essential for experiencing God in daily life. This active faith has transformative power. It changes how one interacts with the world and perceives the divine. Demonic belief necessitates a transformation imperative. Living faith goes beyond mere information acquisition. It results in profound personal change. Active engagement fosters a deeper connection with the divine. Love for the Lord is intrinsically linked to obedience. The Lord's teaching emphasizes that love is demonstrated through adherence to His commandments. Obedience, therefore, is not merely a duty, but an expression of love. Love serves as the foundational motivation for obedience in faith. Love serves as the foundational element in the relationship. Obedience is the resultant behavior or outcome of genuine love. Attempting obedience without love is generally ineffective. This dynamic reflects the natural progression within a faith-based context. Genuine trust and love for Christ are central to faith. Action naturally follows from a heart that loves Christ. Deeds are a spontaneous expression of this faith-driven affection. Love and obedience are intertwined in this expression. Faith is demonstrated through actions that reflect love. Therefore, deeds are not forced, but flow from a loving heart. True faith is demonstrated through both belief and corresponding actions. Inaction exposes the superficiality of professed beliefs. Love and obedience are key expressions of genuine faith. Superficial faith lacks the outward manifestation of inward conviction. Authentic faith integrates belief with tangible expressions of love and obedience. Therefore, actions serve as a litmus test for the depth and sincerity of one's faith. Experiencing God's presence requires more than just hearing His words. Believers must actively implement these words in their daily lives. This active implementation fosters a dynamic interaction with God. It transforms faith from passive listening to active engagement. This engagement deepens the experience of God's presence in a believer's life. Obedience is the central point where believers encounter God. It establishes a sacred meeting place for divine interaction. This interaction facilitates a deeper spiritual connection. Ultimately, obedience fosters spiritual growth in believers. Obedience to known principles is a foundational element in spiritual growth. Acting on existing knowledge unlocks deeper spiritual insights. This obedience reveals truths that were previously hidden or not understood. It fosters a richer, more profound understanding of God's will. Therefore, obedience is key to unlocking greater spiritual understanding and wisdom. Spiritual stagnation can occur among believers despite their desire for growth. A key cause of this stagnation is the pursuit of more revelation without applying existing knowledge. Neglecting previously received revelation hinders spiritual progress. Focusing solely on new insights prevents the integration of foundational truths. Application of existing revelation is crucial for continued spiritual development. True spiritual growth involves both receiving new insights and acting on established truths. Spiritual growth begins with God communicating His will or direction. Believers respond to God's communication with faith and obedience. Through obedience, believers experience God's faithfulness and power. Witnessing God's actions reinforces trust in His guidance. This cycle of communication, obedience, and witnessing strengthens the believer's faith. Obedience is presented not as a rigid set of rules, but as a dynamic journey. It is not a legalistic method to gain favor or merit. Instead, obedience is a path of companionship with God. Along this path, God offers continuous support to His followers. This support includes guidance, direction, and assistance in navigating life's challenges. The Lord's teachings emphasize a profound connection with those in need. This connection is exemplified through identification with the hungry. It also extends to the stranger, offering hospitality and inclusion. The sick are included, highlighting the importance of care and healing. Identification also encompasses the imprisoned, calling for justice and compassion. These examples underscore the significance of compassion and faith. Serving the least among us is presented as a direct act of service to Christ. The phrase, "You did it to me," signifies this profound connection. This highlights the idea that actions towards the marginalized are recognized as actions towards the divine. Serving the vulnerable becomes a means of encountering Christ. This principle emphasizes the spiritual significance of selfless service. Service extends beyond simple acts of assistance. It transforms into ministering directly to Christ. Acts of kindness become profound spiritual encounters. This elevates service to a sacred and transformative practice. Believers encounter the heart of Christ through acts of humble service. These acts reflect Christ's compassion and empathy for others. Examples include washing feet, symbolizing humility and servitude. Feeding the hungry demonstrates care for those in need. Comforting the sorrowful offers solace and support. Defending the vulnerable protects those who are marginalized. To deepen one's connection with Jesus, believers should emulate His actions and priorities. This involves extending compassion and support to those who are suffering and marginalized. It also means actively engaging with the poor and those whom society often overlooks. Furthermore, it requires embracing humility and dedicating oneself to acts of service for others. Every believer is endowed with spiritual gifts. These gifts are purposed to edify and strengthen the body of Christ. Teaching is one such gift, enabling the clear communication of doctrine. Encouragement serves to uplift and motivate fellow believers. Generosity reflects a willingness to share resources and meet needs. Leadership provides guidance and direction within the community of faith. Many Christians are not aware of their spiritual gifts. This lack of awareness often stems from a passive approach to faith. Spiritual gifts are typically discovered through active participation. Serving others within the Christian community is a key avenue for discovery. Engagement in various ministries provides opportunities to identify one's talents. Active service helps reveal and develop the gifts God has given. Spiritual gifts manifest as believers engage in service. Through service, individuals discern what God is blessing and empowering. Others recognize and affirm these contributions, sensing God's presence. This affirmation validates the unique contributions of the individual within the community. Service creates an environment for believers to sense the Spirit's empowerment. Through service, believers cultivate reliance on God's strength and guidance. Service provides opportunities to witness God working through individuals. This divine intervention often surpasses natural human capabilities. Believers experience God's power in tangible ways as they serve. Spectator Christianity involves passively observing religious practices. This often manifests as listening to sermons without active engagement. A key danger is the lack of practical application of teachings. Without application, personal spiritual growth is hindered. Passive listening can lead to stagnation in faith. Active participation is crucial for transformative spiritual development. Spectator Christianity involves primarily critiquing the ministries of others. It often leads to neglect in actively engaging with those who are lost or hurting. This lack of engagement can foster spiritual stagnation within individuals. Focusing solely on critique can create disconnection from the core mission of Christianity. Active involvement is essential for spiritual growth and connection. Balancing discernment with compassionate action is crucial for effective ministry. Spectator Christianity involves admiring missionary stories without personal involvement. It is characterized by knowing about great deeds without actively experiencing them. This disconnect can lead to spiritual frustration. Extending love to neighbors through action is essential to avoid this disconnect. Spectator Christianity involves a passive observation of faith. Individuals possess knowledge of significant spiritual truths. However, they lack personal experience of these truths. This disconnect leads to spiritual frustration. The transformative power of faith remains unrealized in their lives. The invitation to follow Christ is an invitation to action. It goes beyond simple admiration. Following Christ requires active participation. It also demands commitment to his mission. Following Christ involves active participation and a dynamic faith. This participation includes obedience to divine commands. It also means embracing the mission of being sent to specific places. Active followers are called to perform the actions Christ directs. Central to this is emulating Christ's love for others. Therefore, following Christ requires a responsive and engaged faith. The early disciples demonstrated their faith through action, not just passive agreement. Following Christ required them to leave behind their established ways of life. This included forsaking their livelihoods to fully commit to Jesus' teachings. They also had to abandon personal comforts for a life of uncertainty. Their journey with Christ led them into various challenging and unfamiliar circumstances. Early disciples gained knowledge through direct experiences with Jesus. Their obedience, even when costly, led to witnessing miracles. They had the opportunity to hear his voice directly. These disciples intimately knew his presence. Experiencing miracles firsthand deepened their faith in Jesus. Their understanding of Jesus' teachings was enhanced by these personal encounters. Experiencing faith can be realized through acts of service. Service often starts by addressing the immediate needs around us. These needs can be as simple as showing patience. Another way to serve is by actively listening to family members. Addressing these nearest needs can deepen one's connection to faith. Service transforms everyday actions into expressions of faith. Serving others is an important aspect of practicing faith. It involves offering encouragement to fellow believers. Serving also means providing practical assistance to those nearby. This creates a supportive and caring community. Serving strengthens bonds and demonstrates faith in action. Begin with a prayerful request for guidance in identifying opportunities for service. Ask to be shown individuals whom you can assist in the name of your faith. Seek awareness of where divine work is already in progress around you. Express your willingness to participate and contribute to these existing efforts. Faith is strengthened through action and response to spiritual guidance. Prayer can provide nudges or promptings, directing one to specific actions. These nudges may involve reaching out to others through various means. Examples include sending messages of support or encouragement, practical help, such as providing meals or offering transportation, can also be prompted. Acting on these divine promptings demonstrates and reinforces faith. Many individuals believe they lack special abilities needed for service. However, the true deficiency is often a lack of availability. Availability refers to a willingness to dedicate time and effort. It involves using existing skills and resources to contribute. Therefore, willingness often outweighs extraordinary talent. God often works through seemingly simple acts of service. These acts include hospitality and faithful prayer. Quiet acts of kindness and consistent support are also valued. These actions emphasize humility in service to others. Offering abilities involves a wholehearted contribution of oneself. It means bringing one's unique identity and resources to a higher purpose. This includes offering time, skills, and material resources. It also encompasses offering one's words and actions for a greater good. Ultimately, it's about offering oneself completely and without reservation. Stepping out in faith involves an expectation of encountering God. This encounter may not always be dramatic or overt. It can manifest as a quiet joy that fills one's spirit. Expect to experience unexpected strength and moments of holy awareness. Serving others can lead to significant personal transformation. Observe the changes in your heart as you engage in acts of service. Fear can be transformed into courage through selfless action. Selfishness can evolve into compassion as you empathize with others' needs. Apathy can turn into zeal as you become passionate about making a difference. This transformation reflects a deeper connection and purpose in life. Maintain a record of answered prayers experienced during service. Document instances where lives were positively impacted through your actions. Note the ways in which God has provided support and strength. Keep track of moments where you felt stretched beyond your capabilities. Document these experiences, even if only mentally, for future reflection. This record serves as a testament to God's active role and divine influence in your life. Personal experiences can evolve into powerful testimonies. These testimonies highlight encounters with God through action. This is distinct from theoretical or abstract faith. Active faith reinforces the power and reality of belief. The Lord calls believers to move beyond passive acceptance of faith. This call entails actively demonstrating faith through practical actions. These actions include service to others, selfless giving, and unconditional love. Faith should be embodied in tangible ways, not just as a verbal affirmation. True belief is demonstrated through a life of walking, serving, giving, and loving. Doctrine embodiment integrates belief with tangible actions. It represents the practical application of doctrinal principles. This integration demonstrates the authenticity of faith. It moves beyond theoretical adherence to visible practice. Embodiment validates doctrine through real-world manifestation. This approach reinforces the credibility and impact of belief systems. The concept emphasizes that faith and works are not mutually exclusive. It clarifies that genuine faith naturally leads to good works. Good works are not a replacement for faith, but rather an expression of it. Actions serve as evidence of a person's true belief. These actions are seen as a natural outflow or result of sincere faith. Therefore, works are the practical manifestation of an authentic faith. The core question transcends mere belief in God. It emphasizes active engagement with faith. This involves stepping into service for others. It also requires obedience to divine principles. Ultimately, it calls for expressing love in tangible ways to truly know God. Personal prayer involves a heartfelt request for inner change and spiritual growth. The prayer seeks to move beyond intellectual or superficial faith. It emphasizes experiencing the divine will through active participation. The petitioner asks to be taught to encounter the divine through actions. This involves aligning one's actions with the divine purpose. The ultimate goal is a faith that is lived and embodied, not just professed. The prayer begins with a request to be more aware of the needs of others. It asks for divine empowerment through the Holy Spirit. The prayer expresses a desire to transform one's life into a practical offering. This offering is characterized by active involvement and dedicated service to others. Personal prayer culminates in an offering of oneself. This involves a declaration of availability for divine service. The phrase, "Here I am, send me," encapsulates this offering. It signifies readiness to be a vessel for God's purposes. The prayer concludes with a commitment to fulfill divine will through action. The living God is not just a concept to be understood intellectually. God is also meant to be encountered personally and repeatedly. This encounter occurs through active engagement and service. Continuous action and service facilitate an ongoing relationship with God. Obedient belief converts abstract faith into a concrete reality. This transformation occurs through active engagement with one's beliefs. Individuals experience the divine in daily life via this active participation. Obedient belief fosters a tangible connection to spiritual principles. Genuine faith is characterized by its outward expression through tangible actions. These actions manifest as visible fruit, reflecting the internal nature of one's belief. Such fruit includes acts of kindness, compassion, and service directed towards others. These outward expressions validate the authenticity and vitality of one's faith. Professing love for God necessitates demonstrating love towards one's neighbor. A failure to love one's neighbor directly contradicts a claim of loving God. This contradiction underscores the vital link between vertical and horizontal relationships. Vertical relationship refers to the connection between an individual and God. Horizontal relationship refers to the connection between individuals. Simply believing in God's existence is not enough for a close relationship with Him. A deeper connection requires more than just intellectual assent. Active obedience to God's commands is essential. Serving others and fulfilling God's purpose are also crucial. Intimacy with God is cultivated through both belief and action. Living faith goes beyond simply possessing information. It results in personal transformation, altering one's character and perspective. This transformation leads to a profound encounter with the divine. Active participation is essential for experiencing this transformative faith. Love for Christ is expressed through obedience to His commandments. Obedience serves as a tangible demonstration of genuine affection for Christ. Actions are a natural outflow of a heart that truly loves Christ. Love is not merely a feeling but a commitment reflected in behavior. Therefore, obedience validates and confirms the sincerity of one's love for Christ. Obedience is presented as a crucial element in the relationship between a believer and God. It is described as the meeting place, suggesting a point of direct interaction. This meeting place facilitates a dynamic interaction between the believer and the Lord. Obedience is not a passive act, but an active engagement with the divine. Through obedience, believers can experience spiritual growth and development. This implies that obedience is essential for fostering a deeper connection with God. Spiritual stagnation occurs when individuals seek new revelations. This happens while simultaneously ignoring or neglecting the revelations they have already received. Neglecting received revelation hinders spiritual progress. This neglect also impedes deeper understanding and insight. Serving the least of these is a concept rooted in religious teachings. It refers to acts of kindness and service towards the most vulnerable individuals. These individuals often include the poor, the sick, and the marginalized. The act of serving them is considered a direct service to Christ. This perspective emphasizes the importance of compassion and humility. It elevates simple acts of kindness to a level of profound spiritual significance. Spiritual gifts are often identified through active participation in service. Believers discover their unique contributions by serving within their communities. Active service allows individuals to discern where God is guiding them. This discernment reveals the specific areas where their gifts are most effective. Therefore, serving in motion is key to unlocking and understanding one's spiritual gifts. Spiritual frustration arises from a disconnect between knowledge and experience. It is characterized by knowing about profound concepts without personal realization. This frustration underscores the necessity of active engagement in spiritual practices. Without participation, spiritual knowledge remains theoretical and unfulfilled. Following Christ involves more than just admiring him. It necessitates active participation in his teachings and principles. Obedience to his commandments is a crucial aspect of discipleship. It requires a willingness to follow his guidance and direction, even when it is challenging. God finds pleasure in simple acts of hospitality. Prayer is another simple act that brings joy to God. Kindness, even in small gestures, is significant spiritually. These acts demonstrate that spiritual impact isn't limited to grand gestures. Simple hospitality reflects a welcoming and generous spirit. God values the sincerity and intention behind these acts of service. Approach service to others with an expectation of divine encounter. Anticipate experiencing quiet joy in unexpected moments. Look forward to receiving strength beyond your own capabilities. Remain open to moments of heightened spiritual awareness. Action-based faith is demonstrated through personal testimonies. These testimonies recount answered prayers. They also share stories of lives positively impacted. Such accounts serve as evidence of a God actively involved. This reinforces the belief in the power of faith put into action. Embodying doctrine involves the practical application of beliefs in everyday life. It signifies the integration of faith with tangible actions and behaviors. This integration demonstrates the authenticity of one's faith. It reflects the transformative power of genuine belief on personal conduct. Embodiment validates faith through consistent and observable actions. Pray for the discernment to understand God's will in your life. Seek opportunities to translate understanding into purposeful action. Focus prayers on identifying avenues for service to others. Pray for the strength to make a positive difference in the lives of those around you. Ask for guidance in aligning your actions with God's intentions. Personal prayer can extend beyond traditional forms to encompass daily actions. Life itself can be dedicated as an offering of action and service. This involves consciously aligning one's abilities with divine purposes. Resources, both tangible and intangible, are utilized to fulfill these purposes. This approach transforms ordinary tasks into acts of devotion. It allows for a continuous expression of faith through practical contributions. The living God is encountered through active engagement. This encounter involves walking with God in obedience. Serving others is a key aspect of this active engagement. Experiencing God's presence firsthand results from this dedicated walk. Faith involves more than just intellectual agreement. Active participation is a crucial element of faith. Obedience to principles and teachings is also necessary. Faith requires a willingness to serve others. This service should be motivated by love and compassion. These actions define the practical application of faith. Transformation occurs by moving beyond passive belief. Embracing action and service is crucial for experiencing the divine. Action-oriented living leads to profound personal changes. Experiencing the divine transforms individuals in significant ways.